Hello, I want to talk about outdoor survival skills. My name is Michael Griffin. Been doing it roughly 25 years, and I study ethnobotany, which is the study of the uses of plants, mostly the edible and utilitarian uses of plants, like making rope and stuff like that. So whatever. And this is I've made several videos and talked about the four elements, the triangle of life, uh, patterns of life, which I call fractional geometry in nature, and now the web of life. And when you think of the web of life, it kind of ties all that together. This is kind of the last thing in a sense. But basically, you have like a spider web, and the spider's going to basically sit in the center. And when a fly comes into that web, he shakes the web, and automatically, it lets the spider know that something's going on. So he needs to wake up and go find what the trouble is, spin the bug, and that way he has food. So, in a sense, we're kind of like the web itself. We're all interconnected some way. We're not a separate entity from the deer or from the mosquito or from our environment itself. And a lot of environmentalists understand this, and that's basically where you get the environmentalist movement going on. Is because of the web of life. And a lot of people, you can easily look at this as if you have a pond and you're throwing a big humongous rock in the pond, in the center of the pond. What happens is it creates a big splash. Then all of a sudden you get these waves that just keep coming, just cycles of waves. And, one right after the other until it gets to the end of the pond. It hits a hard surface, like on this camera, it hits the hard surface and slowly waves back to the source that it came from. So every action has a total opposite reaction. And then that reaction has a reaction that goes right back to the source. We call it what goes around comes around. You can call it karma, whatever you want to call it, good karma, bad karma. I'm not into karma, so, but in a sense, web of life follows that same system. And, when we were living in the Stone Age, mostly, we were more aware of our environment, and so we had to be focused more intensely. And what I mean by that is we go to the grocery store every day. We don't think about our food. We don't think about what we got to do, where our shelter is, and all that. So we kind of fade away from our source. We fade away from our food sources. Most people don't even know how a cow is killed, what happens to a chicken being raised, what's the process of processing. We're so far removed from it, it's easily to waste. And that becomes a big problem in society. I don't really mind that vegans don't like to eat meat. It's the fact I don't like meat eaters who don't respect that a cow may be being wasted and they decide that steak's not good enough, I'm going to bring it back. Something had to die. And that's affecting us eventually. Sooner or later, it's going to affect the whole community of the web of life. And so you can kind of see this when we go back in the primitive state. You can kind of get the same feel as like, say, you're walking in a park, and I told you this is a safe park, everything's fine. You're going to be relaxed, you're going to be comfortable, you're going to be just enjoying the day. You're not going to be really paying attention to what's going around you, the birds or whatever. But the moment I tell you there's a tiger loose in that park, there's 15 pythons that have been found in this park in the last year. All of a sudden, your awareness level goes extremely up. You're looking around at everything that makes a noise because all of a sudden you're not the top predator in that chain anymore. You can be prey as well. So all of a sudden, your senses get really tight, and you start focusing on things. You hear every little detail. Your brain starts picking up, processing that information in a way that you can be conscious of it. You're being subconscious and aware of it all the time. And I think that's where psychics think that they have this psychic ability. It's really, it's not psychic ability or intuition or whatever. you're picking up on these patterns that are primal in all of us. We're animals, just like the bear or the deer or the rabbit that might be being chased by the bear. And so when you see things being affected in life, all of a sudden you get a sense that something's not right, and or something might be going good, and you just know that by instinct. But that's a primal instinct in us that we're picking up on all these signs that we normally don't process on a daily thing. You might think of it like there's a car wreck down the street. All of a sudden the car starts slowing down and you go, oh no, something's fixing to happen. That's not psychic. You're just picking up on the fact that the birds may be flying away from the wreck because a big loud crash happened or the car isn't slowing down. So that's not psychic ability. That's just primal instincts. And you can think of it like this. You know, you can hear the birds in the forest making a lot of noise, just feeding noises. Then all of a sudden you hear a bunch of cackling, and you're like, well, what are the squirrels and the birds cackling at? Well, there might be a cat coming through. It might be a coyote coming through, and then all of a sudden the coyote attacks a deer, and all of a sudden hell breaks loose in the forest. Everybody's scattering up the trees. Birds are flying away. Our predator vultures are coming in because they want their snacks. And you're picking up on those signs, but you don't realize it. And the more you're in tune with your environment, the better you can be able to read things before you even get there. And that's why when you have this gut instinct, your gut instinct is really telling you that connectedly, we're all connectedly, that you're picking up on these signs and something out there is happening. Um, if you listen to the squirrels, you can be sitting in your house and know instantly if there's a cat or a snake up under there because of the fact that the squirrel will go up in the tree and start cackling that kind of sound, so you know that he's alarmed by something. So it's not it's not rocket science. A lot of people want to think it is. Some people think they're magical or whatever or psychic, but the more in tune you become in nature, and connect it with your food source and your environment, the better you're able to understand what's really going on. It ties in everything I've been talking about, and it's all interconnected. And you can think of it like we want to kill the mosquito, but if you kill the mosquito, you're not just putting pesticide on the thing or drowning out the swamps like you see in Florida. They have mosquito ponds where they actually flood the water, let mosquitoes go, and then they drown them out. But what you're doing is you're affecting the fish and the birds that feed on those things. When you affect the birds and the fish, you're affecting the things that eat those animals, or you're affecting also the birds that may be eating another source of food, predator that can protect your garden. But if there's lack of food, those birds are going to go somewhere else, and so are they going to die out completely, become extinct if they're not adaptable to their environment? And so what ends up happening is sooner or later that food chain is going to end up affecting you just because you affected the mosquito in its environment. Eventually it travels through the fish, through the birds, through the predators to you to the point where it's affecting your food source. So when you think of it like that, it's not um, it's more easy to understand and you have a lot more respect for your environment. When you go out there and you look at the blueberries and the bears are feeding on blueberries, the moment the blueberries stop, the bear goes somewhere else. So the blueberry relationship with the bear is very important. But it's also important that the soil that the blueberries grow in is in relation to the pine trees that drop the needles, that are the red oaks that drop the needles to give the blueberry the tannic acid that it needs. And it just keeps traveling through the web length there. Like when you go on hunting and you know the squirrels are going to be in the summertime high up in the trees because they're feeding on the fruits that are still green. They're feeding on the grapes, the muscadines that are way up in the trees. So if you're going to go set a trap in the summertime or early September or something like that, and the fruit hasn't fallen to the ground, you're wasting your time building traps for squirrels down on the ground. You need to get it up on the higher plane, somewhere close to its food source, like grapevines, and that way you can catch more squirrels. But during the fall, when the hickory nuts and the acorns are falling, the squirrels are going to naturally come down the trees and they're going to be on the ground. So setting traps on the ground is more successful than setting them up still in the trees. Now, I'm not saying you won't catch more squirrels. I'm catch squirrels in either type of environment, but your success rate is more tied in by what the squirrel is feeding on. And so what the plant sources are affecting the squirrel, which affects you in a way, um, how to hunt there. And so if you understand that, it's not it's, it's not a hard thing to see. Like here's another example: you get a buck who is very skittish. He doesn't like to come out in the open, not like the does and the fawns. They're more easily adaptable. They don't mind coming out, but the does are, I mean, the bucks are more weary. So what they do, especially in the southeast, they'll follow turkeys. And what happens is the turkey has a good eyesight. You can hear real good. And if he's 100 yards behind the turkey at all times, anytime the turkey sees trouble, the buck already knows there's trouble beforehand. So you can use that same tactics for you to be more aware of your environment and what's ahead before you even get there. And you know, if the buck didn't follow the turkey, his chances of being shot are a lot more easier because of the fact that he's focused on other things, and he's not gonna be looking up in the trees and everything like that, going crazy. He's gonna use his environment to better help him feel a little bit more safe. He's using different animals, and that's why I said in the last video. I mean, if during a drought, if you're sitting in the woods and you hear squirrels, blue jays, crows all together making a bunch of noise, there's a major food source there. And that food source, those noises are being affected and you pick up on it. You know that there's a better chance you're going to find food there, and a better chance there's going to be animals that feed on the acorns on the ground, like turkeys, deer, hogs, bears. They're going to be in that general area as well at the time because they feed on that food source that the birds and squirrels will be feeding on. So from a distance, you can be sitting a couple hundred yards away, and through that web chain, that web of life, those ripple sound waves or whatever is being affected, you can pick up on. You can also get this with like forest fires. Forest fires affect the environment. If it burns down a hardwood forest, the squirrels are going to have to move. They're not going to be there for another 50, 60 years. Depending on how long ever it takes to get those hardwoods to grow back up. But for deer, and rabbits is a plus because the blackberries and the sumac come up and it creates a big thicket. So they could be in the sun, feeding on, greenbrier, sumac, all the different grasses that are going to come up. And they have a major food source. And they can feel safe in a tangled environment and they can lay out in the sunshine and not worry about anything. So a clear cut, a forest fire, a power line, a pipeline can be a plus to animals like that. But to a squirrel, he's going to have to go somewhere else unless he's a ground fox squirrel. He doesn't mind feeding on the ground like that every once in a while. But that's pretty much it with the different types of philosophy. I'm going to go next into zoology, and then I'll go back more into fractional geometry or how to apply fractional geometry in a real setting. But let me get back to you. This is Michael Griffin for the Art of Outdoor Survival.